when it was finally confirmed that the military was back in charge after staging a coup d'etat. Tahrir Square, the scene of Egypt's revolution little over 2 years ago, erupted. Protests organised by the Tamarod movement had been calling for the country's first democratically elected president, Mohamed Morsi, to go for days.
It's unfolding, of course, and now some are concerned that bloodshed may actually take place. The Muslim Brotherhood is out there saying that they intend to put on their own protests. I do believe some people have died. We need some. We need to hear from somebody who understands the region very well, and there's nobody better to have than my next guest. Dr. Walid Phares is a Fox News Channel Middle East and terrorism expert, and he joins us by phone. Doctor, thank you so much for being with us. It's an important story.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Doctor, we've seen the events transpire in the last few days. There's been I'm going to use the word coup, and perhaps you could advise me if I'm using that word correctly. The Constitution has been suspended. What are we likely to see over the next coming days and weeks?
Well, let's begin by defining what has happened. The international media, unfortunately, has been so much influenced by the Brotherhood propaganda machine. It's not just out of Egypt. They are very good worldwide at immediately framing it in the 3-4 hours following the change, the revolution, as a coup, so that there will be an interruption of U.S. aid and a non-recognition by the international community. The change occurred as a result to the takeover by Mohamed Morsi last year as a president. Yes, he was democratically elected. We have to admit that fact. But his voters were half Muslim Brotherhood. The other half were just secular Egyptians who did not like the previous government, the previous regime. Throughout the year, and that's very important to understand, Morsi was moving forward to dismantle the goals of the democratic revolution, of the one of January 2011. He created a constitution that would minimize the rights of women, of minorities, appointed his Muslim Brotherhood colleagues and various positions of power, removed the first layer of the army, and more importantly, he actually unleashed a militia. That's really the breaking point of everything, and that militia was threatening the opposition. Now, civil society unleashed a series of demonstrations over the past few months, and it's very important for the listeners to understand that the leaders of the opposition have urged the army many, many times. The army is not hungry for power. They're having their bills paid. They are fine, but they were not happy to see that Morsi is not willing to make any concession to the opposition. Hence came January the 30th, last Sunday. And as you said in the introduction, extremely important, never seen before, 20 to 22 million Egyptians were on the streets. That's almost a fifth of the quarter of the entire population. That goes beyond and above any election, any referendum. This is the biggest moment of change.
Doctor, I was mesmerized by that when I first saw the initial images of in Cairo. The numbers were staggering. It was beyond anything I've ever seen. Certainly beyond a rock concert or like Woodstock that we might relate to. One of the things that I wanted to point out, you're on record saying this, and I wanted to ask you because you've mentioned the Army and the military and their role. You're on record saying that the Army is really the only force that can stop any civil war, and that if they hadn't intervened, there would in fact have been a civil war. Is that correct?
Well, that's actually the answer. Sunday, January the 30th, after those 20 million people demonstrated, everybody had their eyes on Morsi. Morsi was supposed to come and say, okay, there's a majority that doesn't want me. One of two. One, he would have said, I invite the opposition to form the next cabinet. Fine, he can coexist with it until the next election. Or he would have said, I resign, I'll become the opposition. Instead, he threatened of a civil war. His speech was a civil war. That is what prompted the army. That is what basically prompted the army to move in, because he had deployed his militia and he was about to enter a bloody confrontation with the opposition. And the army did what it did, which is not a coup d'etat, because a coup d'etat is not celebrated by millions of people like a big kermesse or a big party.
That's an excellent point, Doctor. One of the things I pointed out earlier in this program is some of the video that we showed. I was surprised to see that, along with the lots of signs in support of the military coming in, there were large signs of protest against the Obama administration.
Oh, yeah.
What is the view of the people here, of those in the United States and our leadership?
There's something odd here. Our public doesn't know how badly our image, the image of the United States, is in Egypt. Not the Islamists anyway are against the United States, so that is not the issue. But the actual civil society, people who are democratic, secular, liberal, etc., moms, middle class, minorities, they think that the United States as a whole, as a nation, has been partnering with the Muslim Brotherhood and blocking them, blocking the democracy forces to. They did not understand that this was a policy of the administration, not supported neither by a majority in Congress nor by the public opinion. So you saw all these signs expressing their frustration. They couldn't believe that the United States of America will be siding with the more authoritarian, ideologically radical group instead of siding with like-minded civil society people.
Doctor, one thing I wanted to point out here, and I just brought this up, it was the president's statement saying we're deeply concerned by the decision of the Egyptian armed forces to remove President Morsi and suspend the Egyptian constitution. That's, of course, what had to be done, certainly by the military, at least temporarily. Can you talk to us a little bit? We've only got 30 seconds. Talk to me about the new leader there.
First of all, quickly, that was not the army's decision. That was the people's decision, and the army came to protect the people. The two leadership now in Egypt, quickly. One is the army. It will stay in the back. It won't assume political function. The new leader is the head of the Constitutional Court of Egypt, who will assume only the mission of transferring power, overseeing the elections, and there will be a new president, there will be a new parliament. Even the Muslim Brotherhood will be there as a political party, but not anymore as a totalitarian regime.
Doctor, we're going to have to leave it right there. Thank you so much for being with us.